Donald Trump is very frequently doing photo ops like this, showing up and performing as if he has respect for police officers. He'll use the phrase "back the blue." We love our boys in blue. We support law enforcement. But like so many of the purported principles of Trump, of MAGA, photo shoots like that cannot, at least for those paying attention enough, abstract the truth. While you watch this segment, please do make sure you are subscribed to the channel. What am I talking about? Well, as of when we're recording this, tomorrow, but probably when you're watching it today, is January 6th. 4 years to the day since the violent attack on the Capitol. That was the climax of Trump's attempts to block the peaceful transfer of power. He'd been implementing these schemes that we've spent hours talking about that were, in some cases, illegal to prevent Biden from coming into office. Something that now he's not going to be held accountable for because of him winning the election and those cases being dropped because of it. But once all those things didn't work, he was losing it. He riled up this mob to violently attack the Capitol to prevent the certification of the election of Joe Biden. And during that process, while he sat by and didn't do anything as it happened, wouldn't call them off for far too long, what was happening? Well, police officers were being violently attacked. And a particularly horrifying characteristic of today and tomorrow is that not only did Trump do that, but now those people's lives, the lives that were lost that day, and the injuries that were sustained, and the PTSD that officers are still dealing with, they are being sent the message that wasn't enough for America not to choose Trump. The Hill reports former Capitol police officers called Trump's vow to pardon January 6th rioters a betrayal. Former Capitol police officers present during the January 6th, 2021 insurrection says President-elect Trump's commitment to pardon rioters is a betrayal. We've been seeking accountability for years. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen. One of the officers said, "I lost my health, I lost my career, I lost some friends. They broke the law, violated police officers, attacked us, and then went back and said we did it in the name of Donald Trump." And then Donald Trump's going to pardon them and say it's okay, all is forgiven. And actually, he's called people January 6th defendants patriots. And indeed, on video, he specifically said not just people who weren't violent but trespassed, not just people who did this or that, specifically people who were violent against police officers, the very police officer Trump pretends like he has respect for to earn brownie points for political points. He's willing to pardon the people who attacked them.
And she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
She did pass it.
There's a man over here, I think he must work for her.
Mr. President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to bring...
My question is on those rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to ask,
would you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just under...
and then laughed at there because he says if they were innocent. Well, they're not. They were proven to be guilty in a court of law. And he says absolutely, specifically about those who attacked police officers. MAGA keeps saying, let's move on. Oh my gosh, you're still talking about that. If you watched my reviews of my recent appearances on right-wing shows, you remember that that's something that I get told a lot. Oh, you're so fixated on 2020. Really? Because I'm just responding to him making this a day one promise. And also, yes, I'm fixated on the guy who's currently becoming president, last time he was president, trying to overthrow an entire electoral process.
The moment we win, we will rapidly review the cases of every political prisoner unjustly victimized by the Harris regime, and I will sign their pardons on day one. I will sign it on day one.
A day one promise. We're trying to remember to do this. Sometimes I say we're going to do stuff like this and then time slips away, but we really want to make a compilation of all of his day one promises and play it right after day one is over and see how many of them he actually followed through on. But this just might be one that he follows through on. And one of the reasons he's enabled in this behavior is because of, yes, him winning this election, yes, his MAGA base, but also Republicans in Congress, and specifically Republican Senator John Thune, apologizing for the behavior.
Marks 4 years since January 6th, since the attack on the Capitol. You were here that day. You've been in this building for more than 20 years. In my interview with him, President-elect Trump said he plans to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on that day, and potentially even some of those who pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers. Do you support that, pardoning people who attacked police officers who stormed the Capitol that day?
Well, I mean, as we've discovered under the Biden administration, the pardon authority is a very broad one. I mean, he's taken it to a whole new level. That's ultimately going to be a decision that President Trump is going to have to make. And, you know, what I'm focused on is the future, and not looking in the rearview mirror, but looking at the windshield and what we have to do. I think you learn from the past, you remember.
Not looking in the... Jaden, can you switch off your mic so that you can talk in the audience's ears?
Of course.
Because I have a question. This is... he says not the... Okay, wait. Let me just make sure I have this right. I don't want to embarrass myself. Not the past, but the future is what he's focused on. As of when he was asked that question, it was the day before. So... And as of when I'm recording this, is tomorrow the past, present, or future, Jaden?
That's a tough one. I'm going to have to go with C, the future.
That was the question, John. Yes. Focus on the future. Fine, do it. The future is tomorrow. Okay? And tomorrow we're going back to the future. And we are going to have you answer about tomorrow and about Trump's promise even further in the future on day one to pardon these people. That's going forward. They keep doing this. When they're pressed on it, it's, oh no, I'm not talking about that because I don't think it's relevant to talk about whenever the incoming president did a coup last time. But then whenever it's about Trump, he's able to bring this back into the forefront of our conversation. I don't agree to the terms, by the way, that we shouldn't talk about something because it's a long time in the past when it's very relevant to the present and to the future. But even if I did, Trump would be the one bringing it back up. So then I'm just responding to something that he's bringing up right now, which is a promise about pardoning people who attacked police officers, pardoning people who did so in the interest of overthrowing a free and fair election. That would be one of the worst things you can do as a part of a political project. And it's not just John Thune who creates an environment where Trump and his behavior is normalized. I'm not using that term in the sense that Trump's not normalized in the sense that he's right in the center of our political conversation constantly, but acting like it's normal, thus acceptable, what he's doing. You also have people like Scott Jennings. And this is a topic shift. But look at someone who, before was fully denouncing Trump because of January 6th things. Now he'll say all sorts of funky things because he knows where the gravy train is. Or he genuinely believes it and he's wrong. Maybe it's not grift. But he captioned this. My favorite thing about Democrats is that they never update their talking points. Take taxes, for instance. I provided a live community note on the Trump tax cuts for one tonight on CNN. Trump cut taxes for virtually everyone who paid, period. So his allegation against the other CNN contributor is that, well, she won't update her talking points. She's just stuck in a talking point loop. Let's see who's stuck in the talking point loop.
The Trump tax cuts, obviously Democrats are going to fight that tooth and nail. It's not just something that exploded the debt. It's also something that is really symbolic for Democrats of giving all the benefits to extremely wealthy people while the rest of us suffer or don't get anything.
Jessica, if I may, just one community
go
note
ahead.
for the record. The Trump tax cuts cut taxes for virtually everyone who pays taxes. It wasn't just a tax cut for wealthy. Everyone who pays taxes got a tax cut. Extending these tax cuts would be tax cuts for everyone who pays taxes. And so this was like one of the biggest lies told about the bill when it passed in the first place. But there is verified, absolute verified reporting from numerous reputable news sources that virtually everyone who pays taxes got a tax cut. That's what Republicans stand for.
Go ahead, Christy. Did you want to jump in
The
there?
wealthy got by far the biggest share of that, Scott, as you know.
No, everybody who pays taxes got a tax cut.
You said that 3 times, Scott. So in the biz, we call that a talking point, and you seem stuck in it. Address her actual question. Everyone who paid taxes got a tax cut. Everyone who paid taxes got a tax cut. Everyone who paid taxes. Yes, we heard you. No one, or at least no one purposefully, asserts that there weren't tax cuts for more than just the wealthy in that tax cut bill. What's the language I always use? Disproportionately wealthy folks benefited. So, would America go crazy? And would even Trump's base be upset with him if he only cut taxes, only for wealthy people? Yes. So what do to shove through a big wealthy tax cut thing? They give us little peanuts so that people like Scott Jennings can go on television. Scott, who, by the way, probably was benefiting from the top of the economic ladder benefits, but he goes, everyone got a tax cut, so it must have been good. No, not when these tax cuts Republicans keep doing that so often are disproportionately benefiting wealthy folks in a time when they don't need more benefits. They're doing great, okay? If anything, they could probably chip in a little bit more. And they'd still be doing wonderfully, and hooray for them. But what we see is that by 2027, north of 80% is going to go to the top 1% of the country of those tax cut bills if they're extended. North of 80, take 80% to the top 1, not to the top 10. If we do top 10, we're getting to like a crazy percent. Top 1%. So Scott, you think it's reasonable for 80+%, based on different analyses, you can get different exact figures, which is why I'm saying in that sort of general term. But you think it's reasonable that right now, in a time of record income inequality, we need to actively take steps to exacerbate it and go, hey, working class people, here's a few times. So now you're okay with us giving a bunch to wealthy? And then what do they say? Well, who cares if everyone's who cares? Well, first of all, me. But second of all, that then becomes the justification because we wouldn't be in the debt and deficit problem that we're currently in if it weren't for the fiscally irresponsible tax approach that Republicans take, the trickle-down economics lie approach they take. And so then you get an Elon and a Vivek that come in and goes, gosh, our deficit's so out of control. Cut. Do they raise taxes back to where they were before to try to start being more fiscally responsible? They cut. Medicare and Social Security. Or food stamps. We saw Republicans last go round and then Biden in the negotiation prevented this, but want to just cut food stamps or Medicaid. Nothing is sacrosanct, Ralph Norman a couple weeks ago said about the Department of Government Efficiency. Everything's on the table. That means Medicare. That means Social Security. wait, but those programs are helping people, and it would ruin their lives if you took away even a small amount of benefits. Could make a huge impact in the lives of people because they're not super wealthy like Scott. I'm sorry. We're just out of control with our spending, out of control with the imbalance between our spending and our revenue. Well, then why do you keep decreasing the revenue by cutting taxes in ways that benefit wealthy folks disproportionately? Now, a good way that we know that this principle is one they don't actually stand by, or at least that there is this weird lust to help those who don't need any more help. Democrats keep saying, hey, we'll extend any of the tax cuts in the 2017 tax and jobs, whatever it was called, for only the middle class, for only low income and middle class earners. We'll do that. But can we just let expire the ones that went towards write-offs for corporate jets or whatever it was, private jets? Could we raise that corporate tax rate back to what it was before? And they say no. But everybody, please tax cut. Thanks, Scott. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Get the bonus show by clicking that join button below.